Hi everyone, it's Chris from FunTech Guys, and in this tutorial we are going to be talking about, and I'm going to be showing you how to insert data into our database that we've just created. I'm going to try and keep this one fairly short. We're not going to do too much of our sanitizing of the data, and we're not going to be checking if the user's already registered. We'll probably do that in a later video when we start cleaning up our code, but as I say, this is like a proof of concept, so please don't take these what you see in this video as gospel. Like I said, we're not going to be cleaning up our data too much because I just want to show you what we can do at the very basic and minimum what we need. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into it. So if you recall last time, in the last video, all we'd done is we'd connected to our database and we just made sure that we had successfully connected. So we broke the user registration by putting in a username that didn't exist. So we put root with quite a few O's in it and it broke, and then we had included that on our header file. So we were connected to the database throughout the entirety of the page, in the entirety of the site. So every page, which includes the header file, it has got a DB connect, so our index has got our header file, our register has got our header file, and our login has got our header file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the register, because obviously there's no point in connecting and logging in if there are no if there are no users, and likewise with the index.php page, there's no point in checking if a user is logged in without starting in the obvious position. So what you want to do is you want to open up your PHP tags, and we can do this where we can just set variables and just say, right, start preparing our statements, but it's always best practice to just check if the form has been submitted. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, let's comment this, check if email has been submitted. Email and password has been submitted. So what we're doing is we're saying if not empty, so we're saying if the value of this particular thing is not empty, because if you put an exclamation mark in front of something, it negates it, so it becomes a not. So we're saying if it's empty, and then we're saying if it's not empty. So if it's not empty, and we're going to have a look at the email. So as long as email is not empty and is not empty, $_post password. So what we're saying, to submit this form, all you need to fill out is email and password. So as long as it's not empty, let's start preparing our query. So what we would do, and as I said a second ago, we would do something like check if user is in database. If user is not in database, form insert. Oh, that's not right. Go back. Else return relevant messages. So we need to do some form of validation and checking along those lines, but as I say, this is proof of concept, and we will just start off with the bare minimum, and then we'll work our way through. So we're just going to go ahead and start preparing our query string. So query is equal to, and this is what we want to, the action we want to perform. So we want to insert data into our users table. So you insert into, and then it's followed by a table. So our table is called users. So if I come back here, auth and users, and then pull up atom, and we go insert into users, and the values are name, email, and password. Now these are the names of our columns, so name, email, and password. They're not associated to these down here. The not the values. The columns that we want to insert into is name, email, password, and that relates to, if I go to structure within our table, name, email, password. So if I put name like that, it wouldn't be able to insert the data into here. So we are telling it that it has to be this name. So name. We don't need to do ID because as we set up in the initial tutorial, ID is the unique identifier. So it's auto incrementing. So the first row will be 1, the second row will be 2, and so on and so on. So that just gets set automatically. So name, email, password, and we want the values to be. What we're doing is we're going to use a prepared statement. So we're not actually going to put $_post here or anything because it's insecure and it's vulnerable to MySQL injections. So what we're going to say is we're going to prepare a statement. So we'll inject the values later on and we'll tell it where to find the values. So we're going to say name, email, and password. So we'll pass these values back to it later on. So what you want to do is then close off your, then you want to terminate your line, and you want to come down here and you want to start a statement. So our variable statement, so STMT is abbreviated for statement. Statement is equal to con. So this connection is what we have up here. So con is the database connection. So we connected with these credentials, so host, user, password, database. We passed those in here, we connected successfully, and then we set connection as the variable for the connection to the database. So connection, and then we want to prepare our query. So basically get ready and prepare this statement in this variable. So then we want to say statement. Let's just tell query string where to find the values. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell these sections where to find our values. So statement, and we use bind value. I'll just terminate that line. So what we're going to do is we're going to bind a value. So we're going to bind name to its relevant string. So we're going to say name, comma, and that is $_post name. So what we're saying is look for when you're inserting the data, so name, look for that in name. Now, obviously, there's a million things wrong with this. So first of all, we've not secured the data. Well, first of all, we've not even checked if name has been submitted. So what happens if someone just signs up with email and password? Then this value is obviously blank, so that it's going to throw up an error. So that's the first thing wrong with it. Then we've not sanitized the data, and we're just passing it straight into the string. But that's that's another step, so don't worry about that for the time being. Let's just start on to the next one. So statement bind value, and what we're doing is we're going to say next one is email. So email is equal to $_post email. Now the last one is a little bit different. We're going to do bind value again, so we're just binding the values. However, this time what we're going to do is we're going to say, oh, not email, password is equal to, and we want to hash the password, because obviously if we go ahead and just start storing passwords in our like if I just put in test as a password and then I just store it straight into the database, it's insecure. What happens if our database gets hacked or information gets leaked or some sort? Not only does the admin have access to everyone's passwords, then anyone who gets access to this database would have access to all those passwords. So what you want to do is you want to hash it, and if I password hash, so if I do password hash, come over to the PHP manual, and I scroll down here, and hang on, let me just remind myself where it is. Okay, so it is recommended to store the results in the database column that can expand beyond 60 characters. 255 characters would be a good choice. So in the previous video tutorial, I said password, we are going to store this as a varchar for 255, and there's a reason for it, and we're going to password hash our string. Now, password hash over time will change as better technology becomes available and better algorithms do become available. So PHP, the manual itself, is recommending that you set 255 as the length of your password field. So what we need to do is come back here, and what we're saying is we're going to password underscore hash, and it's going to be have we done it? Yeah. So no, dollar underscore post password. So we're going to password hash our password, but we're also going to add password bcrypt as the validation. So we've got default and bcrypt. I always stick with bcrypt. So password underscore bcrypt, and if I just show you that here, where you can find that is password default, password bcrypt. Use bcrypt, but you can read up on this. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but it's just a secure method of storing a password. So let's knock down onto a new line. Now we've bounded our values, so we've got 3 values here. We've got them set here. What we need to do is execute our command. So what we're going to say is if statement execute. So if the statement has been executed, then we will, let's just say echo success. Else we want to echo failure. Now let's come back over here, load our register page. We've got no errors, which is a good sign. Let's go. Chris is my name, my password is test, and my email, because we're obviously not validating anything at the moment, we're not checking if it's a valid email. I'm just going to put me in here. So create and failure. So something has gone wrong somewhere. So let's find out what's gone wrong. So something that we can use to find out why it's gone wrong is let's do failure space, and then let's print statement error code. So that will give us an error code, and then we'll be able to return back what's gone on, why it's failed. But let's just see if I can find out what's gone on. Password hash. Right. Let's save that. Can't see it there. You might have spotted it straight away, but I do. Chris test 1 2 3 me at me. So all I've done is taken the error code, and I've just googled the error code quickly. So PHP insert base table view or not found. So if I've put user rather than that. Daft. So auth users. So That's a good way of finding it. I could have cut this out and I could have just made it look like you just get everything right first time, but then obviously it doesn't give you a true representation of how it is. Sometimes you do just need a little bit of help. So what we've done here is we've just bug fixed. So we've just gone, right, we've got a failure. What is the failure? Right, spit out the error code. A quick Google of this error code, and it just says base table or view not found. So base table or view not found just indicates to me that I know some location as to where the error is going to be. So the error is going to be in here, so we'll insert it into our table. So with base table not found, I had a look and it's users, not user. So let's just go ahead and submit this again. So Chris, test, me, submit, and we have a success. So now if we head over to our database, click on browse, we should see Chris is the name, me, and then we've got this really long string which is our well, it's 60 as you can see here, original length 60, but maybe over time this is going to be changing. So we've stored our hash password. So this actually means test, but the password hash function has gone ahead and just encrypted it for us. So if someone doesn't gain access to this database, then they're not going to know straight away what this is. So I'm going to leave the video there. We've done quite a bit. What we've done is successfully connected to our database and left, well, I suppose that was in the previous tutorial, but we've checked if the form has been submitted and that the values are not empty. So what we could do down here is, if that's not the case, then we could echo back a message. Both username and password are required. Yeah, so we've checked if the form has been submitted. I'm just going to get rid of that for the time being, because we will go through and validate everything a little bit better. We have prepared our query, so we've said, right, what we're going to be inserting into, we are inserting into our users, not user, our users table, and that is, we're going to pass in the 3 columns are going to be name, email, and password. From there, we're going to pass in 3 values. We're going to give you a temporary variable, which we're just saying, right, name, email, and password. This could be anything. We could say any, and then we'll say, right, any is what we're going to be passing in, but it makes sense to put name, email, password. So name is equal to name, email is equal to email, and password is equal to a encrypted version of our password that we've submitted. So then we're checking if the statement has been submitted. If it has, we're echoing success. Otherwise, we're going to echo failure, and we're going to return the error code. And from that error code, we can check whereabouts whereabout the problem is with our code. So I'm going to leave it there because we've gone ahead and inserted our data into a database. So what we'll do in the next tutorial is probably just check the login, just work with the login, and then we'll work on the index.php page, and then we'll come back through and we'll clean up our data. Now, it's not best practice to go ahead and, as I say, just insert data like this, and it's something that I would do at the beginning before data even gets submitted into it, but we will make a base model, and then we'll go back through and we'll start cleaning it up. So I hope you're taking something away from the video, and catch me in the next video for the next installment. Oh, and as I say, in the first tutorial I said I was going to put all the documentation and all the files that I'm using in a link in the description. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do that throughout this series. So at the end of every video, down in the description, you'll see a up-to-date version of the code of what I've been using from that point. So if you are confused or you don't want to write everything that I've just wrote out, feel free to click the link in the description and it'll just take you off where you can download it. Okay, thanks very much for watching, and sorry for rambling.